What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, we back in Denmark. I decided to check out these 101 facts about Denmark just to learn a little bit more. I have done plenty of videos about Denmark, so I don't think I've heard 101 facts about Denmark, but I heard quite a few. I heard a good amount, some important stuff, and learned a lot so far. Like I said, from the channels Robe Trotting and Traveling Young. You know, forgive me, Traveling Young. I forgot on the last video, but I had y'all faces in my head. I just forgot the name. But Traveling Young and Robe Trotting definitely been here for me, learning about Denmark and just the different things in the country. So, but we're gonna check this out. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send out those recommendations. Let's check out these 101 facts about Denmark.
Well, hey motherfactors, and welcome to this week's edition of 101 Facts. My name is Sam, and today we're going to talk about the bike-loving country whose ancestors are Vikings, but they still love being comfy. That's right, it's Denmark. The Danish have given the world a lot, from the Little Mermaid to tiny little plastic bricks. And what better way to repay
What was that?
a lot, from the Little Mermaid.
That's the Wild Thornberry's dad.
Mermaid to tiny little plastic bricks. And what better way to repay them than with a video all about them, eh? But how was Denmark influential for Disney? Which country is Denmark secretly fighting with over an island?
Oh.
And hey, can we get a quick shout out for Christina Applegate? 2 out of 3 of those questions are going to be answered, so let's make our way through the final country in the Kalmar Union trilogy, the land where fairy tales come from, as we go through 101 facts about
I still need to do Norway. I think somebody sent me to Norway once. Sorry, Norway. I'll do y'all's tomorrow.
Denmark. Number 1. Denmark is not just what it would sound like if a baby was listing names and forgot the name Mark. You know, they would say, Paul and Denmark. Oh, sorry, I started this off so badly. It's a Nordic country, officially called the Kingdom of Denmark. Number 2. Denmark lies southwest of Sweden and south of Norway, but is kinda small compared to its Scandinavian mates. In terms of America, it's somewhere between Maryland and West Virginia in size. You know, just for some context. Number 3.
And I don't think those cities or those states in America have 5 million people. They might, because I know Denmark have more. It's crazy because Denmark have more people than Norway, and Norway look huge.
However, the kingdom
Somebody did say in the comments though they have a lot of mountains and stuff, so I guess that could be the reason.
More islands than ones that live in Jack Shepherd's Head rent-free. In total, 433. One of those islands is Greenland, the largest non-continental island on the planet. It also isn't green. Number 4. Today, even though Denmark retains control of foreign affairs and defence, Greenland does have its own government to run the country autonomously. Greenland also doesn't have any roads that connect the cities or even a railway.
Wow.
Number 5. But Greenland has been eyed up for a purchase because it's seen as a good military position. In fact, international nonsense merchant Donald Trump inquired about buying the island from Denmark, but Denmark said, nah. Number 6. Denmark is
That
expensive.
look like more than just a nah.
Not to buy, like Greenland, although yes, it probably is that too. What do I mean then? Well, sales tax in Denmark is one of the highest in the world at 25%. And on top of that, they also pay 45% income tax too.
I hate you, Aaron.
Oh my god!
Number 7. But their money worries ain't keeping them down, as the UN reported that it's the second happiest country in the world, just after
Finland.
It's sad they can't be first, but Den's the breaks. You know, like Denmark. Number 8. A reason for this, and a reason for the high tax, may well be that the healthcare and education systems in Denmark is paid for by taxes, meaning that everybody gets the very best.
Always a
Well, at
good
least on
thing.
paper they should anyway. Let's not get into that debate. Number 9. Now here's something about Denmark. It has a very, very, very elderly flag. In fact, it's the oldest in the world, bless it. The Dannebrog, as it's called, originated in the 14th century, but apparently it appeared as early as 1219, during the Battle of Lindenice. Number 10. There's a code of conduct called the Law of Jante, which is important to Danish culture. It basically says that no one person is better than anyone else, and everybody should respect that.
Definitely heard this before. I don't think I remember the name of that before. Heard that name before, but I probably have heard it. Definitely a different name to remember. But I feel like this should be spread it out everywhere. You know, no one's better than the other. But here in the States, it's totally opposite to me.
It's not like an enforceable law or anything, just how the hell would that work? But just something nice to remember. Number 11 is is so hot in here. Now then, Nobel laureates are important people. They're people who have received a prize for contributing to the world in a variety of ways. Why am I mentioning them? Well, Denmark has 14 Nobel laureates, mainly with 4 in literature and 5 in medicine. Denmark's population is quite small, so the ratio of normal randos to Nobel laureate is quite something. One of the highest in the world, in fact. Number 12. Speaking of Denmark's population, it's around 5 million people. That's less than the population of New York City, but also more than Sidcup. But it's less than London, but more than Fresno. You get the idea, I won't do every single place, ever. Number 13.
Even London seems like it's bigger than Denmark. Or, yeah, it's bigger than Denmark. But New York is crowded, I ain't gonna lie. It is. I wouldn't be surprised if it had more people. It's crowded, but it seems small. Maybe it's just how you look at the map, I guess.
We have Denmark to thank for a lot of the stories we tell our kids, or weans as they say in Scotland. You know, before they go to bed. No, I don't mean they were responsible for Irvine Welsh, he's from Scotland. But I'm talking about Hans Christian Andersen, a Great Dane, not like that version of a Great Dane, who gave us fairy tales like The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, and The Emperor's New Clothes. Number 14.
I'm guessing Disney took The Emperor's New Groove and kind of copied that then.
In fact, The Little Mermaid even had her own statue commissioned in 1909 by Carl Jacobsen. Wow, there's a ballet based on The Little Mermaid? That must have been a very wet front row.
I did a video of the girl, she like went there and showed that little thing. I didn't know that was Little Mermaid.
Number 15. Ellen Price was the ballerina who modelled for the statue, by the way, keeping with the ballet theme. It was unveiled in 1913 and made out of bronze by a chap called Edvard Eriksson. Number 16. Oh, by the way, that Carl Jacobsen fella? Well, his dad was a fan of beer, specifically lager, so much so he made one and called it Carlsberg. It was founded in 1847, with its brewery being established in 1844 on the outskirts of Copenhagen. Number 17. Apparently, the national sport of Denmark is competitive ant racing. What? Okay, no, it's not. It's football.
I was about to say, like, how can you race an ant?
Sport of Denmark is competitive ant racing. What? Okay, no, it's not. It's football. But I had you there for a sec, didn't I? In fact, the national team won the European Championships way back in 1992, and in 1908 beat France 17-1.
Dang.
17. That's how old Chandler Bing was again in that film. Number 18. Denmark is also keen on that whole cycling thing too, apparently. Cyclist Bjarne Riis won the Tour de France in 1996. Also, in 2012, the national men's handball team won the most medals in European Championship history. In handball, not cycling.
I need to check out some handball. I've never seen handball before. Like, it definitely looked different. It looked like they have like a football right there, or soccer ball, as Americans say. Like that type of ball. I need to check that out. I think that's interesting. It looked like this dude just got clotheslined though. So it could be very, very physical sport.
Amazing, but still, it's good. Number 19. Isn't it nice once in a while to get hygge with it? Okay, that joke is great, but it's ruined by the fact that it's pronounced hygge. But isn't it nice to get
Hold up, look at the shirt.
Hygge with it.
Me and you and your mama and your cousin too. Ain't that Outcast?
Okay, that joke is great, but it's ruined by the fact that it's pronounced hygge. But isn't it nice to get hygge with your friends, gang? Don't know what hygge means? And no, it's not that, you mucky pup. Well, let me tell ya. Hygge is a Danish word that means cozy, charming, comforting, content, or special. Really? Whether it's by yourself or with other people. Basically, the things I wish I could feel. Number 20. It also means an art of creating intimacy. Now, you may notice that I'm not saying can be translated into, and that's because there's no one English word that actually translates directly. Not really, anyway. It's that unique of a sensation to the Danish, and you know what? Fair play to them. Number 21. Hygge became an absolute sensation a few years ago, and some would argue it still kind of is with the rise of cottagecore, but anyway, it was so much of a hit that it was in the shortlist for Oxford Dictionary's Word of the Year. Wow. It was joined by words like alt-right and Brexiteer, but they all lost to post-truth. God, things are bleak, aren't they? Number 22, Denmark has also given us some big cultural beasts too, like film director Carl Dreyer, who created The Passion of Joan of Arc in 1928, which has since been considered a masterpiece and one of the best movies ever made. I mean, it's no Cloverfield, but sure. Number 23. Speaking of film directors, Denmark has also given us one of the most provocative in the world, Lars von Trier. He's the director of family favourite films like Nymphomaniac and Antichrist, movies known for being safe for all ages and free of any controversy whatsoever. Number 24. Once a year in Roskilde, there's the Roskilde Music Festival that's been going on since 1971. It's one of the biggest festivals in Europe, attracting a multitude of different musicians from many different genres, including Bob Dylan to Taylor Swift to Muse to Nine Inch Nails.
Like Nacho Libre mask or something. What is that?
Musicians from many different genres, including Bob Dylan to Taylor Swift to Muse to Nine Inch Nails.
Trent Reznor did the soundtrack.
Number 25. A strange tradition that I don't think the acts participate in at Roskilde is the naked run, which for obvious reasons we can't show you here, so just pretend these normal festive goers are nude.
Ain't no way. A naked run?
Is the naked run, which for obvious reasons we can't show you here, so just pretend these normal festive goers are nude. The winners, one male, one female, win tickets to next year's festival, so practice
Y'all gotta tell me, is this true? Like, I know the nudity is no problem, but a whole run? That's wild.
Cardio. Number 26.
I couldn't imagine running a 5K naked.
Sadly though, a couple of decades ago, Roskilde was hit by tragedy. In the year 2000, while Pearl Jam were playing, there was an incident in which 9 concertgoers were killed by being crushed and suffocated.
Dang.
It was deemed a terrible accident, and the incident changed safety standards for other festivals across Europe. Number 27. Anyway, rock festivals, film directors and beer aren't the only things the place is famous for. There's also the little bricks that really hurt when you step on them too. I mean, most bricks do, but these ones do especially. That's right, Lego was created in the town of Billund by Ole Kirk Christiansen in 1932, being named after the Danish leg godt, which means play well. Number 28. In the early days, it wasn't the plastic stuff we know and love today, it was just wooden toys that were made there. It wasn't until 15 years into their existence that they started making the bricks that build dreams. And you can have that slogan for free, Lego. It's now a multi-billion-dollar business. Nice work, Christiansen. Number 29. The Danes bloody love their bicycles, so much so that Katie Melua should have written her song about them. In fact, 9 out of every 10 Danes own a bike, and to encourage them to do so, cars are very heavily taxed. Nice. Number 30. No wonder they bloody love bikes so much, the country's as flat as my rate of serotonin. The highest point in the whole country is Mullahai, and that's not a mountain or anything, it's 170 metres tall. It's basically just a hill.
Dang.
Number 31. Allow me to introduce you to mermaid, which no, isn't this stock footage man, but is actually a type of sandwich, an open one, as it happens. It used to be rye bread with lard, which is where the name comes from actually, but now they've gotten much fancier.
That looks interesting.
Number 32. The Danish Geodata Agency did something pretty cool back in 2014 that must have taken an unbelievable amount of time. Using 4,000 billion blocks and a terabyte of data, they recreated the entire country at a 1-to-1 scale within Minecraft.
Dang.
The idea was it could be used for educational purposes, because I hear the kids love Minecraft.
Man, they do. I still remember when Minecraft first came out, like, the kids was playing, I'm just looking like, what do you even do on this game? And they, oh, we build, look, I just created this. It is very creative. It does spark out the creativity in kids and anybody.
But then, guess what happened? Number 33. America happened. Dynamite was meant to be banned in the map, but somehow they found a way past that and users began to blow up painstaking recreations of real towns.
Dang.
And how do I know it was Americans? Because they planted the USA flags in the wreckage. Which just goes to show you why we are simply forbidden from having things that are nice. Number 34.
Funny.
Surprisingly though, while the USA is fighting to get Denmark's land, both in person by trying to buy Greenland and digitally on Minecraft, another country is arguing with them over some land, Canada. Plant Island, an island that's barely half a square mile and has nothing on it, technically is in the waters of both Canada and Denmark. It's a debate that's been raging on and off and then on again since the 1930s. Number 35. And so they have a bloodthirsty fight over it. Okay, maybe not bloodthirsty. It's not as aggressive as, say, somewhere like the US would do. But they fight by members of both countries going there and leaving a bottle of alcohol along with a flag saying welcome to Canada or Denmark, respectively, replacing the other flag and bottle. How beautifully petty.
What do they plan on doing?
Number 36. The Queen of Denmark, Margrethe II, drew illustrations back in the 1970s inspired by one specific franchise, Herbie. Oh, sorry, no, not Herbie, The Lord of the Rings. In fact, she even sent them to J.R.R. Tolkien himself, who liked them, and art based on her illustrations were put into the Danish versions of the books.
Wow, I like The Lord of the Rings. I used to watch that a lot growing up. I was about to say Herbie Fully Loaded. I remember that, not like the old school. Like, I think they redid it with Lindsay Lohan or something.
Number 37. We're going to talk about history now, everybody, if that's okay, but first let me tell you about this absolute lunatic, Tycho Brahe. Brahe was an astronomer back in the late 16th century who discovered the supernova, but oh, he was so much more than that. At one point, for instance, he had roughly 1% of all the money in Denmark.
Wow.
Number 38. He lost his nose after a duel at university about a mathematical problem, and so had a replacement made out of gold. He also had a little person as his own personal court jester. He even had a pet moose that he would send to parties.
Lost his nose and got a gold nose. What in the world?
He also had a little person as his own personal court jester. He even had a pet moose that he would send to parties instead of him. But that moose died because it fell down some stairs because it was drunk. Number 39.
Drunk moose.
This Wolf of Wall Street style scientist died in 1601 at the age of 54 after he drank so heavily he ruptured an organ.
Dang.
And I know what you're thinking, and in case you're wondering, unfortunately yes, somebody has stolen his golden nose from his grave.
What are people gonna do with a golden nose? I'm just curious of what, like, sell it maybe? Well, I mean, that's crazy.
Number 40. Right, I could talk about him for ages, but let's look at some more general history for Denmark, eh? Humans first trod the Danish soil and dug some flint in the literal digging sense, not just I dig that cat, tens of thousands of years ago. Permanent settlements for human beings sprang up at around 12,000 BC, mere days before your mum was born. Number 41. In fact, in 2016, Danish archaeologists found some hunting tools that dated back to 11,000 BC, which gave some insights into how the first people of Denmark survived. The meaning of life. It's thought that a tribe that came to Denmark from Sweden in around 500 AD are the ones responsible for a lot of the cultural and linguistic basis from which the Danes flourished, the stone-cold lads. Number 43. And now is when we talk about those absolute horned lads that never actually wore horns, the Vikings. The Norse people came from Scandinavia, i.e. Sweden, Norway and Denmark, and basically shook the whole world up for centuries with their conquering and pillaging ways. Number 44. It's generally said that the Viking Age started in around 793 AD, as this was when the Vikings came to England and started ransacking, which was a real pro-gamer move. One you can no doubt do yourself in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, maybe. Number 45. The Vikings then established this new era in England as the Danelaw, named after the Danish. Well, okay, sort of. It was more that the Danish were named after that. But anyway, it was a lot of the east and northeast of England, which somehow included Stowmarket. I mean, why? Number 46. Those Danish Vikings were very good at what they did. They rode the sea like it was a sick beat and they were Vanilla Ice. They were also better at trading more than that fictional character in that Art of the Deal book, and liked exploring more than Dora. They even went as far as Africa and Russia.
It said exploring more than Dora. What in the world?
And liked exploring more than Dora. They even went as far as Africa and Russia.
Wow.
Number 47. Oh, by the way, in Old Norse, the country that this video is about was referred to as Danmark, which meant Danish March. You can see how Danmark, which is what the Danish call Denmark, eventually evolved out of that. Number 48. The sort of first non-legendary ruler of Denmark was a guy not so nicely named Gorm the Old. Surely he can't be called that from birth. Or at least that's as far back as tracing its roots goes. He reigned in Jelling in the year 936 AD. Number 49. Gorm the Old had a son who ruled for 25 years, and his name was No, not really. It was Harald Bluetooth. And yes, by the way, this is where the technology Bluetooth gets its name from. In fact, its symbol is his initials in bind rune.
Wow.
Number 50. Anyway, Bluetooth was named after, well, Bluetooth.
See, I figured with the name and Bluetooth, I figured that went together, but I didn't know it was his initials.
Number 50. Anyway, Bluetooth was named after, well, Bluetooth, because Harald managed to unify the disparate tribes of Denmark together into one country and group, which, you know, well done him, fair play. Number 51. Bluetooth's descendants, Sweyn Forkbeard, Harold II, and the one that I need to be unbelievably careful about saying, Canute the Great, went on to do great things like conquering the whole of England. I mean, I'm not sure my ancestors would have enjoyed it, but, you know, well done them, I guess. That meant there was now an Anglo-Danish kingdom over the British Isles for a fair while. Number 52. By the year 878, the Danes had conquered northern and eastern England, and by the 11th, King Canute had a big old kingdom which included southern Sweden, Finland, Norway, England, and Denmark. Number 53. Canute had a son called Harder Canute, which is hilarious, and I want to name my son Harder Sam, who took over from him when he died. Thing was though, Denmark at that time was looking to be invaded by both Norway and Sweden, and the threat meant he couldn't actually go to England. Number 54. Some sources say that power shifted in England to more traditional English heirs, which the Danes weren't too happy about. They tried some more attempts to take England back under their control, but ultimately failed each one.
Dang.
Number 55. Bluetooth's name is still remembered though with the yelling stone of Harold I. It's in a churchyard because it was around this time that Scandinavia started to accept Christianity. More on that later.
So that stone is actually in Denmark right now, covered like that? Is it two? Is it actually 2 stones or more?
This time that Scandinavia started to accept Christianity. More on that later. Number 56. So as I said earlier, Norway's current monarchy is traced back to 935 to Gorm the Old. And yes, this leads all the way up to the current monarch, Queen Margrethe II, who rules over the country when she's not sketching Pippin. Number 57. Anyway, cut to the 13th century and a guy named Valdemar II ruled and managed to expand quite impressively. He conquered areas like Pomerania, Estonia, Mecklenburg and Schleswig-Holstein. However, various nobles wanted power over this big new country, and so wouldn't you believe it, fights happened, and this didn't last all that long. Number 58. Later, from 1397 to around 1523, Denmark was part of what was known as the Kalmar Union, a supergroup of nations under one leader. The union was made up of Denmark, Norway and Sweden, but this fell apart when Sweden decided they wanted out. Number 59. Tensions were rising in Denmark at the time too, as some were saying they wanted to break away from being all Catholic and stuff, and wanted instead to convert to Lutheranism. Number 60. King Frederick I was the king when this all played out, and I don't envy him really. He couldn't really decide what to do when people took this time to attack monasteries, which, you know, not cool, gang. Frederick then suddenly died, leaving a right mess behind him. Number 61. The country was in tatters because nobody could decide who was to be leader next, which meant civil war. Oh, Denmark, you really are in a state here. Catholic leaders were worried that a new prince would introduce Lutheranism, and so didn't choose him. They also accepted help from mercenaries from Lübeck, which is now in Germany, to quell the anger. Number 62. Thing is though, when the Lübeckers invaded, the peasants and middle classes didn't really see them as the enemy, but rather as liberators, as they were as against the nobility as each other. Number 63. These aristocrats and Catholic bishops then panicked and installed Christian III as king, who ironically was a Lutheran despite his name. This did not help the revolt that was going on, as rich people's houses were set on fire in certain places.
Dang.
Nintendo 64. A chap by the name of Rantzau then took control of things by absolutely decimating these merry bands of peasant bashers, cutting Lübeck off so no more of them could come on over to help, and by storming Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark.
That's crazy to think, like back then, they used to just go to different communities, set it on fire, and like that's wild.
Which I'm sure we'll mention soon in more detail. Number 65. You see, at this time, Copenhagen liked the idea of being its own stronghold autonomously, an idea fueled by the merchants who quite liked not being meddled with. And so they were, as in they became cut off from the outside world. Number 66. Thing is though, that comes with downsides too. For instance, a lack of food sources and medical help when there were epidemics, which, oh gosh, it seems like there were. They then surrendered after going it alone for a year. Number 67. This all ended with the Danish Lutheran Church becoming the only religion that was sanctioned by the state, and the king was in direct control of it, making the monarchy in a very healthy position of power indeed. And they all lived happily ever after. Number 68. Except they didn't, because in 1657, Denmark took the brave choice under Frederick III to declare war against Sweden because they occupied Poland, territory that Denmark had lost to them around 12 years earlier. Number 69. Okay. This proved to be a right Job Bluth, i.e. a huge mistake. They weren't especially battle ready and they missed a massive opportunity. Sweden's king, Gustav, at one point became separated from his army due to melting ice. But the Danes didn't capture him and instead wanted to sign a peace treaty, which they did. Number 70. Thing was, this treaty wasn't great for them, but it was very good for Sweden. The Treaty of Roskilde, nothing to do with a naked festival, made Denmark give a third of its territory to Sweden.
Oh man.
Number 71. In response to this,
was Denmark actually way bigger back then or something? Like, I know they had a lot of battles and stuff, but like, was the country actually bigger than what it is now?
you'd imagine that Frederick III would be the least popular leader since, Zod? Don't know why my head went there, but anyway. But apparently not. In fact, he managed to convince the nobles to essentially give away their powers so he could rule with absolute authority. Number 72. Then we get to the 19th century when things were a bit testy between France and Britain, and the British were worried that Denmark were going to be on France's side. Now, Denmark stayed neutral in this fight along with Sweden and Prussia, even signing a pact saying they would remain that way. Number 73. So, what was the British response to that? They bombarded Copenhagen to bits, obviously. They set a lot of the city on fire, paying particular attention to its naval yards. They also confiscated the entire Danish fleet of ships. Number 74. The British then offered the Danes an alliance, which was quite a baffling move, which they said no to after their previous behaviour. So they joined the Continental Alliance against Britain instead. Number 75. Britain then responded to their decision by blocking off Danish waters as well as Norwegian, but hey, it's not about them this week. This caused a fair bit of poverty in the old Denmark, so things weren't great. Number 76. Oh, I forgot to mention something when we talk about the 18th century. The 18th century saw a bizarre practice arise in Denmark called suicide murder, which sounds like an edgy metal band who still play in a garage. People who were suicidal back in those days were told that they would be sent to hell should they do it, so as a loophole, they would kill others to get the death penalty. They would then circumvent hell by repenting on death row, apparently meaning they'd go straight up to the big house. Number 77.
That's throwed right there, dang.
On death row, apparently meaning they'd go straight up to the big house. Number 77. Things eventually got better for the old Danish, proving D-Ream right. There were some great up-and-coming thinkers along the way too in the 19th century, like Kierkegaard, the philosopher, the theologian Nicolaj Frederick Severin Grundtvig, and fairy tale merchant Hans Christian Andersen. Number 78. Art also made a nice comeback in the 19th century too, with the Danish School of Art being introduced and Bertel Thorvaldsen creating some nice statues for Copenhagen, like a good lad. Number 79. King Frederick VII also did what his ancestors would have seen as the absolute inconceivable. He abolished absolute monarchy, getting rid of the king being the complete power over the country. Instead, there was then a parliament. It's worth noting, by the way, he was pressured to do this by the Liberal political party, so it probably wasn't all, his idea. Number 80. There was also a lovely little constitution drawn up too, with free speech and free religion and assembly and everything. Things got good. Everything went from being ruled by one bloke to being very democratic very quickly indeed. Number 81. But then, a short while later, World War II happened. But Denmark actually managed to save 99% of its Jewish population despite being occupied by the Germans. When the Danish heard of the Germans' plans for Danish Jews from a German diplomat, they quickly jumped into action. Number 82. That action? To smuggle out the Jewish population of Denmark via the sea to Sweden, who were neutral in the Second World War. Nearly 8,000 people were put on fishing boats and taken to Sweden in a nationwide effort that saved all of their lives.
Wow, see, when they talk about World War II and stuff, see, this is some stuff that was definitely left out. Like, I never knew that many people were saved through this. That's interesting. This is some interesting stuff so far. Like, y'all see, if I haven't been talking too much, man, this is like a history lesson of 101 facts type of stuff. This is definitely some history lessons right here.
Number 83. Which brings us up to today, give or take 80 years. So let's discuss its capital, Copenhagen, which by coincidence starts with a capital letter. Oh no, wait, that's what all nouns do. Anyway, Copenhagen has a population of 794,128. And I know that because I counted them all myself on Google Maps. Number 84. But Copenhagen used to be the capital of 3 countries, i.e. the Kalmar Union of Norway, Sweden and Denmark. It lasted in this position for about 150 years too.
Wow,
Number 85.
Copenhagen was the capital of all 3 of those? That's interesting.
Copenhagen has one clean harbour, and that's because 15 years ago officials decided to get some clean water on the go by clearing up the waterways. Now there are several places in the centre of the city where you can swim outside because it's so clean.
Wow.
Number 86. Once you've towelled off from that, you can venture to Dyrehavsbakken, which mercifully is also known as Bakken for short. Now this is the world's oldest amusement park, having started in 1583.
Not Santa Claus.
Number 87. Their water is so clean, but so is the air too, because Copenhagen uses a lot of wind and solar power, and has advanced heating systems that recycles waste too.
Nice.
God, Scandinavia, eh? Number 88. Like I mentioned earlier, the Danes bloody love a biker too, don't they? Well, probably just one. You can't ride 2 bikes at the same... You probably can, someone has. Anyway, same goes for Copenhagen. The city has 250 miles of bike lanes and have a superhighway for cycling specifically that connects the city to the suburbs. Number 89. For a time, the University of Copenhagen had its own court, laws, and even a prison all to itself.
Wow.
The school had to obey the city's jurisdiction rules in 1771, but that was after over 290 years of having essentially their own system. Number 90. We mentioned Carlsberg earlier, and I promise this isn't a spawn or anything. That said, we would like some free ones if there's any going. But the Carlsberg Brewery in Copenhagen is home to the world's largest collection of unopened beer bottles. Leif Son, a Danish engineer, started to hoard them all in 1968, but when it became too big for his home, he moved his collection to the Carlsberg Brewery instead.
Wow.
Number 91. In case you were wondering, by the way, Son's still collecting to this day, and has over 20,000 bottles now. He's going to have one hell of a party. Number 92.
He have 20,000 bottles that he haven't drunk or that he drunk in. That's a lot.
If you want to try some real world-class stunning Nordic cuisine, you can get a 20-course meal in a restaurant called Noma in Copenhagen.
Oh, I've seen
It's been
Noma.
voted the best restaurant in the world 4 times by Restaurant Magazine. I mean, they must be the leading authority, right?
I've seen this. Well, this is like mostly plant-based stuff, like for vegetarian, vegans or something.
And they've always
From
been in the
what I
top
remember.
5 since 2011. You can get things like a reindeer tongue or a leg of moose.
What? See, the options I've seen, it was like something with ants on there, like salad. It looked like vegan food. I didn't say a reindeer tongue and moose feet.
You can get things like a reindeer tongue or a leg of moose.
That's crazy.
Number 93. Copenhagen is also home to Tivoli Gardens, which was built in 1843. This is the second oldest theme park in the world, proving the Danish really do know how to have a good time, and were innovators of doing so. It's still open and gets well over 4 million visitors a year, except maybe this year. Number 94. Tivoli Gardens also has another particularly important accolade too. It's the inspiration for Disneyland.
What?
Walt Disney visited in 1951 and later said he wanted his own theme park to be as happy and fun as Tivoli was. So, without Copenhagen...
He also went to Efteling in the Netherlands. So he just copied everything from Europe and said, hey, I want mine like this in the United States.
said he wanted his own theme park to be as happy and fun as Tivoli was. So, without Copenhagen, your Disneylands wouldn't exist.
That's crazy.
Number 95. Come to 1971, when a band of
I
squatters
think he did take the Little Mermaid and all that, because those are Disney movies.
took over an abandoned military base in the borough of Christianshavn in Copenhagen. They turned it into their own commune and called it Freetown Christiania, and it's still going today. Number 96. Freetown Christiania has 9 key rules, just one more than John Ritter, and these are known as its common law. And those are no weapons, hard drugs, violence, bikerwear, bulletproof clothes, sailor fireworks, thunder flashes, though I'm not sure what that even means, and no stolen goods. Number 97. So hard narcotics are banned there, yes, but marijuana isn't and is a big part of the lifestyle there because, you know, hippies. There was a designated area where you could buy it too called the Green Light District, but it's not exactly legal. Number 98. You see, in 2013, a bill was passed in Parliament which dictated that Christiania would have to follow the same rules as the rest of Denmark, and crackdowns on various activities there have been going on ever since. Number 99. It used to be the case too that everybody who lived there paid into a communal treasury, a bit like how taxes are supposed to work. But now there's an actual treasury for the place that has a committee of directors and everything, whereas before it was like a communal free-for-all meeting type thing. Number 100. Christiania is a car-free zone too, with bikes and walking being the preferred method of transportation, as it seemed to be more green and environmentally friendly. Told ya, hippies.
Number 101.
In 2011, Christiania finally set up the Christiania Foundation and used the money within it to buy the land that the commune was on. With that, they turned from squatters to landowners, solidifying their position as a legitimate sector of Copenhagen and a tourist hotspot. So those were 100 facts about Denmark. Do you live there? Have you been there? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to 101 Facts if you haven't done so already, because, what a team we've got going up in here, let me tell you. In the meantime though, 2 videos on screen now, one of which is going to clear your skin and the other one cures arthritis. Which one does which?
This was good. This was good. This was definitely this was a history lesson for sure. This was a Denmark history lesson, at least for me. Definitely didn't know that about World War II, how they put people on ships to go to Sweden to keep them safe. The guy with the golden nose, like that, I ain't gonna lie, I was still thinking about that watching this video. I'm still thinking like, dude, how you just replace your nose with gold? Like that's odd. That's different, you know. But some of this stuff definitely different. Y'all definitely gotta let me know if it's fact or cap, if all of it's true or not, or if y'all have more explanations about certain things that were talked on here, you know. But this was definitely different, Denmark. This was definitely different. I now know 100 more things about Denmark. So, but I enjoyed this. Hope you guys enjoyed as well. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Hey, send me more recommendations. And y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.